George Poveromo's World of Saltwater Fishing, proudly brought to you by Float-On, the original aluminum immersible boat trailer. Mercury Outboards, #1 on the water. Mako, run with the shark. And by Offshore Angler, worth its salt.
San Salvador is situated in the far southeastern Bahamas, roughly about a 350-mile boat ride from South Florida. It's believed that this was the point of land that Christopher Columbus first anchored up at in his quest for the New World. And ironically, neighboring Cat Island, which is about 50 miles away from here, disputes that claim and says that Columbus landed there. In my opinion, if Columbus liked to fish for Wahoo, there's no doubt in my mind that San Salvador was definitely the place. Some of the largest Wahoo in the world migrate past San Salvador during the winter. It's a very special place for me because 5 years ago, I came over here and caught a 143-pound, 3-ounce monster Wahoo. I have very special feelings for this place. This time, I was here in late April to sample some of the incredible springtime fishing. I was here with Trey Ryan, Captain Joe Trainer, and Tom Nelligan aboard the Over Under Adventures 55-footer low profile.
April in the Bahamas, especially here in San Salvador, is a great mixed bag. You get the beginning of the dolphin migration, yellowfin tuna around, the wahoo are still around, you get an occasional billfish here and there. Just an exceptional time to fish, lots of action.
The fish here are big, and a lot of them you would just love to take on with light tackle, like 30, 40-pound yellowfins on 30-pound class, or maybe a 15 to 30-pound class dolphin on 12-pound spin. But the problem that you run into here are sharks, and a lot of them. They're mean, they're abundant, they're ornery, and they're very aggressive, and they want one thing, and that's your catch.
We have a major concern here with the sharks. When we're wahoo fishing and yellowfin fishing, everything seems to be in the same vicinity.
Anytime you get a tuna on, you want to get it as quick as you can, or else them sharks, they can somehow find you.
So we usually hook the fish in 400 or 500 feet and try to get them out into 1,000, even 1,500 feet. If we can drag them off into the 1,500 feet of water, we have a better shot at getting them.
Left long! Caesar, you gotta get the center rigger. Can't do it all here. Hey, Thomas, go up top! Pull it down, pull it down.
There are yellowfin tuna here, and a lot of them, and we were right into them. The big problem, however, is the sharks.
The sharks are just part of the game. Crank, George, crank, crank. George was pumping on the rod as fast as he could. Got him about 30 feet down, and I looked down and saw all kinds of color down there. Saw tuna colors, saw brown shark colors. As soon as we got the wind on, I grabbed it, leadered him up, gaffed the tuna literally right out of the shark's mouth.
Oh, man. And I affectionately call the sharks revenue collectors. Sometimes they take the whole thing. Other times they take a 50% bite, a 75% bite. It's tough.
You got most of them, George.
I know, look at the size of it.
That's a good tuna.
You know, this is what
That's a good tuna there with that 50-pounder right there. Fish on.
It's angler versus sharks, and the prize is a beautiful yellowfin tuna. Who's going to win? You'll find out after a few commercials. So far, so good. We're on a San Salvador, Bahamas yellowfin tuna, and we're staying a crank or two ahead of the sharks.
How you feeling, George?
I feel good when there's always a tuna on the other end. Now, if we keep this away from the sharks, we'll be living life good, won't we?
Just remember, there's a tuna on the end, and there's a shark 50 feet behind him at all times.
The shark versus the gas, the typical offshore challenge. The poor angler is just the guy's caught in the middle of it all.
I think all the other lines are pretty good, huh?
Yes.
There we go. Perfect.
I'll tell you, we lost our fair share of yellowfins, and I get hooked up again. And it's the same scenario. The fish is making a long run out. You know, you're hooked up to this heavy tackle and you're putting as much heat as humanly possible on this fish to try to get it in before the sharks get to it. And in this kind of fishing, it's sort of like you don't have time to really savor the fight and the whole enjoyment of the experience. You're sitting there cranking for everything that you're worth to try to get this fish in so that you can savor it later that night as sushi or grilled tuna. That's how you fight these fish.
Did they get you into the backing?
Nope.
No.
Good run. A lot of line, but
Yeah.
backing stayed put.
One of our famous top secret cedar plug rigs. Well, we're really targeting the tuna. You know, we're really concentrating here on 3 rods. Our center rig, our 2 long riggers. So if we really think the tuna around, we'll usually have 2 cedar plugs out pretty long, maybe a bait or a small lure out on the other long rigger. So those are some of the things we do to really target the tuna. We'll keep the speed up for the tuna too. They don't seem to mind, you know, trolling fast.
Here he comes. Oh, get him over there. Ah, get that tail in. Woo!
And we beat them, beat the sharks.
And sure enough, I could see some brown coming up behind, but fortunately we gapped this fish and got it in. It was a beautiful yellowfin tuna, and it makes it feel that much more special because you're competing with all these sharks, and we had sushi. On the old cedar plug, huh?
Good old cedar plug, secret weapon.
Now, all those tuna, how many you suppose were in that?
There's got to be a whole bunch.
Incredible.
100 of them, right? Anyway.
All right, let's open this guy in. Put him inside.
In the box?
Yeah, go ahead. Open it. Ready? Hey, that is a chunky tuna. I'm telling you what, the way that they're sitting up there right now, I think we could pick off these fish for at least another hour. I mean, they're just like...
Yeah, they're here right now. Get them while they're here.
Oh. Well, that's a 75% tax bracket. That's a shame.
Better tuna, too.
One of the most humorous moments that occurred on this trip was Trey Ryan trying to figure out how to outsmart the sharks and keep them from eating our yellowfin tuna. I'm hooked up and I'm fighting a good-sized yellowfin. This fish is really giving me a run for my money.
Let's get this one whole.
Trey comes up with this idea that he's going to go ahead and take some cut-up oceanic bonita and start throwing it overboard to chum the sharks away from the tuna. And I knew instantly that he was going to become a big hero if it worked out, or probably the biggest loser on San Salvador if it didn't work out. Oh, he's getting it, here he goes. When he threw those chunks overboard, it had the same type of effect as if you were at a kid's party and somebody broke open a piñata and everyone went scrambling for the candy. In this case, you had sharks all around the transom. Now, I didn't have to deal with one shark eating my tuna. I had 2 or 3 of them going down there and just chowed down on it. It just failed miserably. You try the old shark chumming away approach, trying to sweeten up the water, but it didn't work, did it?
I think that all I did was bring in a company.